All right, today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. It is 3 p.m. and we are going to call this council work session to order. And I guess the first thing on the updated agenda is announcement. Who's going to be doing that? All right. Like Kathy is going to.
But this is the announcement of the 2024 Employee of the Year Award. An Employee of the Year should be someone who consistently exemplifies behaviors that reflect favorably upon the city. An employee that goes above and beyond on a regular basis. Someone who goes the extra mile to help customers, both internally and externally. They respond to inquiries in an efficient and timely manner. Participate in employee-related events. They put the city's interests and the interests of their coworkers above their own. They have an exemplary attendance record. They behave off-duty in a manner that reflects positively of the city, as we are public officials 24/7. They have a positive attitude no matter the circumstances, and they are noticed by people in and out of the organization. For 2024, we received 13 nominations for 6 employees. They were in alphabetical order. Engineer 2, Alex Bird. Facilities Maintenance Supervisor, Buck Tupper. Communications Officer, Crystal King. IT Specialist, Darren Cox. Interim Public Works Supervisor, Field Supervisor, Safety Coordinator, Ethan Sterling. Engineering Manager, Sharon Jerome. Each of these employees exemplifies characteristics of an Employee of the Year, and they should be proud to be nominated. Please join me in giving them a round of applause for being nominated. In order to eliminate bias, I gathered a group of 7 people not related to the city of St. Helens to be the judges. They were Carrie Garcia, Columbia County HR Director, Chris Iverson, Hagen Hamilton Insurance, Erica McCartney, CCMH HR Director, George Dunkel, Retired Fire Chief, Kelly Smith, Columbia County Commissioner, Kelly Dowell, WorkSource Oregon, and Paul Vogel, CET Executive Director. They were instructed to set any and all bias aside and judge the employees solely based on the nominations received, emphasizing the quality of the nominations and not the quantity of nominations received. I asked them to give me their number 1 pick. 1 employee rose to the top. This employee deserves to be the city's 2024 Employee of the Year because they exemplify qualities that go above and beyond. They are dedicated to their career and to the city. They look out for their fellow employees and have the city's interests forefront in mind. Without further ado, please join me in congratulating Communications Officer Crystal King as the City of St. Helens 2024 Employee of the Year.
Well deserved.
Crystal began working for the city in November 2008 as a receptionist and utility billing specialist. She was promoted to planning secretary in January 2011. Afterward, the city saw the need to provide more communication to the public regarding services the city provides and projects the city was working on. In July 2012, the city transitioned Crystal out of planning and into communications, becoming the city's first ever communications officer. With her writing and literature degree, this just seemed like the perfect position for Crystal. Let's hear from some of her nominators. Crystal is a huge asset to the city. She works with every department to gather information, uses her expert skills to make that information clear and professional, and then communicates it with the public. Sometimes working with other departments means working different hours, such as communicating closures early in the morning or late at night on snow days, distributing press releases late at night or on the weekend for the police department, taking pictures during Spirit of Halloween Town, Christmas ships, the community parade, and other events. Crystal has an unmatched capacity for smoothing out rough edges, responding concisely and with grace, and she always has the facts in hand. She has a tremendous ability to read a situation, identify sticking points, and address them head on. She is organized, strategic, thoughtful, efficient, and able to maximize her capacity for any project. Crystal supports her team by covering for staff in other departments when needed. Crystal collaborates with community partners to proactively take the initiative to identify plans and options for citizens during natural weather events such as excessive heat waves and cooling centers. Crystal is the city's, sorry. Crystal is the city's official photographer. She works around everyone else's schedule to take headshots or to take pictures for future communications. She is always dependable and maintains a positive attitude. Her patience and professionalism with city communications is to the highest standard. Please give Crystal another round of applause for her exemplary actions and conduct for the citizens of the community and the staff of the city of St. Helens. In addition to the Employee of the Year award and certificate, Crystal will receive an 8-hour paid day off work and $100 in gift cards from wherever she wishes. For all of you who were nominated, please be proud that your work and your personality deserved a nomination by your peers. I will forward the nominations to you so that you can read what your coworkers have to say. Thank you to everybody who participated in the Employee of the Year program. And now we'll give her award. Congratulations. Wow. Thank you. And then here's your certificate and your ones. Yep. Well, now we're together. Picture. You and I? Yeah. Okay.
It's over there. I might need your help with this.
Really like music. It's just like Photoshop that.
I want to see her take her own picture.
Exactly.
You guys color coordinated. That was nice.
Yeah. Have you and John in one, and then you and the council.
Let's get that. And then she's got a little here too
Oh, yeah.
that needs to get in that picture.
Justin dressed for it.
What?
Justin dressed for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's good.
Thanks for all that, Crystal.
Yeah. And then all the council. Do you want to just go up there? Fix
Should
someone.
we try to do the chairs right this time, John? We might get good at it in here. Upper back. And then this time it's like, I think we got it. Then they go back.
It's supposed to be like cheap.
Right here. I mean, we're gonna get this down, like, in like at least another 6 months, we'll get it down, the picture thing. We gotta get a picture. No picture with little.
Here with Emma.
Aw. Congratulations, Crystal. Thank you. Nice job, Kathy.
If there's a muddy field, we get a picture.
Wow, I love starting this off on such a positive note here. We will now move into our next agenda item, which is clearing confusion and setting the facts straight. So this is a clarification memo with comments received February 19th, 2025. So the first one that is listed on here is public comment during meetings, limiting length to public comments and free speech. So to clarify, there is no Oregon law requiring the city council to provide public comment opportunities during the majority of their work session or regular session meetings. Per the Oregon Attorney General, the right of public attendance guaranteed by the public meeting law does not include the right to participate in public testimony or comment. Other statutes, rules, charters, ordinance, and bylaws outside the public meetings law may require governing bodies to hear public testimony or comment in certain matters. But in the absence of such requirement, a governing body may conduct a meeting without public participation. Governing bodies voluntarily may allow limited public participation in their meetings. And there is the link, a hyperlink for the Oregon Attorney General's Public Records and Meetings Manual, Public Meetings Section section pages 155 and 156. Per the St. Helens City Council operating rules and procedures, work sessions shall begin with visitor comments to provide the public with an opportunity to address City Council. Visitor comments for the regular sessions will occur at the end of the meeting. And there's also a hyperlink for the City Council operating rules and procedures, meetings of the council, City Council section, page 1. You want to take 2?
Sure.
Oh, this? You don't have it in your packet? Huh?
All right, number 2, public meeting laws and transcription accuracy. Public meeting laws do not require verbatim transcription. For the Oregon Attorney General, a governing body must provide for written minutes of its meetings and executive sessions or sound, video, or digital recording. The written minutes or recording must include at least the following information: members present, motions, proposals, resolutions, orders, ordinances, and measures proposed and their disposition, results of all votes and the vote of each member by name, except for public bodies consisting of more than 25 members, unless recording by name is requested by a member of that body. The substance of any discussion on any matter and a reference to any document discussed at the meeting, unless even a reference to the document is exempt under public records law. Written minutes need not be a verbatim transcript, and a sound, video, or digital recording is not required to contain a full recording of the meeting, except as otherwise provided by law. However, the minutes or recording must contain the above information and must give a true reflection of the matters discussed at the meeting and the views of the participants. And then also a hyperlink to the Oregon General's Public Records and Meetings Manual and ORS 192.650 on recording or written minutes.
Thank you. And then we will move on to number 3, public safety fee increase on the city's utility bill. The City Council has made no move to increase the public safety fee on the city's utility bill at this time. While comment and discussion has taken place at multiple meetings in the past, including during council meetings, budget committee meetings, and during public testimony, the City Council has not taken action to increase the fee. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is also going to be uploaded onto the website. So if there is anyone out there that is interested in directing people to the website so that they can obtain factual information, please send them that way. And we are on to visitor comments. So now is time for visitor comments. The visitor comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Each person has 3 minutes to speak at 3 minutes. The City Council will take take all input into consideration. However, observance, of Oregon open meeting laws, it isn't the time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Our city administrator and city recorder are taking notes of action if needed, and we'll follow up with you. And if you would like any follow-up, please make sure that you put your name and information on the sign-in sheet so that they know how to get a hold of you if there is any correspondence that needs to take place. Otherwise, it is time for public comment. Who would like to speak?
Stephen Topaz, I'm going to speak on public comments. I've had opportunity to bring something to the state and was rejected because I didn't know how to talk about it. It went to federal court and said state law on free speech in this state was illegal. Some of these state laws, which were just quoted under the federal bias, would not be acceptable. Okay. I gave a talk last time and part of it was amputated, so accuracy of reports are somewhat. Now, we have been limiting public input. We once started at 1 o'clock with a 5-minute, then we went to 1 o'clock with 3 minutes, and we went to 2 o'clock. Now we're proposing that at least in the regular session, we can make public comments at the end. a lot of the public comments which have been considered upsetting, people are trying to get something done. And if the council, which is responsible for everything in the city, gets upset for people asking to get something done, they're in the wrong place. Next thing is, some of the things that will happen in that meeting, people would like to be for or against. When you put the comments at the end of the meeting, the vote's already been taken, and people have zero input. One of the patriots of our country mentioned that the freedom of speech requires that the good, the bad, the lies, the truth, the dislike, and the praise all be heard. Not accepted, just heard. We're eliminating that. The next thing that we have a discussion about news media being at the executive session. No place have I seen that the council has the right or the ability to define what a news person or a news outlet is. And with that ability, you can say, I don't like that person. We can't call it a news media. So too bad. You do not have that right. Thank you.
Next public comment.
So you still owe John an apology. Still waiting. You actually owe a lot of people apologies, frankly. Her hypocrisy is really too much. You sat there and you complained about how you didn't trust John, how he's overpaid. Would get rid of him on his first day. And now suddenly you're good friends. And I'm glad that you've realized, unlike you, I have realized and never attack. I mean, trust me, there's a lot that you don't do wrong, that you don't do right, a lot you do wrong. I have never blamed John for that. I understand that John, like all the city employees, are public servants and they do the direction of the council. So anything that John does or does not do, you can blame on the people sitting next to you because that's what he does. And so you owe him that apology and you still haven't given it to him. So you do owe him that. I do want to, I'm happy to see that there is an agenda item to talk about replacing the police chief and making his not acting, hopefully. My only question is that why is it listed as Mark Gunderson rather than Brandon Sundin? It's my understanding that you are the police commissioner, and I don't understand why it is that you're not bringing that forward. Chief Hogue is a great asset to this community. I hope that you all realize that and that you appoint him as the full-time police chief. I also want to thank the Public Works people for cleaning the stairs. They did a great job. They look really nice. Then I want to talk briefly about you clearing the confusion and setting the facts. Well, it's a big lie. The fact of the matter is, these are recorded. Hopefully you all realize that these sessions are recorded. So when I bring a recording of you talking about raising the water bill, and 3 of you that are still sitting there, the only one who can be excused is Jessica and Jennifer, who were not at that meeting, but you did talk specifically about changing the water bill to $25. It was talked about in detail and was recorded in detail in your words. Well, saying on a public document that no action was taken, that's an action. That is an action. When you talk about it in public and you say, frankly, it was one of the dumbest things I had ever seen, that you are sitting there and you're going on about saying, oh, we want to hear what the public says, but if they reject this levy, we are going to pass it anyhow. Gee, I wonder why people didn't vote for the levy. The fact of the matter is, that's an action. You did talk about it, and your statement is factually incorrect. Yeah, well, your statement was factually incorrect. You need to correct the record. Your record of misinformation. Yeah, correct your misinformation.
Minutes is up.
Correct your misinformation.
Minutes is up.
Correct your misinformation.
All right. Anybody else have public comment? Anybody online? Yes. All right. So we are on to discussion topics, which is recreation programs semi-annual report. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Positive things about our youth.
Well, it's nice out today, so the kids are outside playing, so that's always a bonus for us when the weather starts getting nicer. Thanks for having me today. So I just wanted to go over some things that we've been doing in the recreation program over the last 6 months. And I know you guys all received your packet, so I'll just hit on a few high level topics. And if you guys have any questions at the end, I'll be glad to answer any that you have. So the first page shows our recreation by the numbers. So since 24-25, we've had 148 registered programs. Each day we have 83 youth in our care, which means that we've opened pretty much 83 childcare spots for the community, which is pretty huge for the childcare desert that we do have out here. And we are getting ready to open up another program that will serve about 25 to 40 youth after spring break. So the beginning of April, and that will be over at Lewis and Clark, and it will be modeled like the ones at Columbia City and McBride that are our free programs that are our learning centers. And the other things just show how many folks we have that we can outreach to. So we have a lot of Facebook followers, and we have a lot of profiles in our rec database, which means when there's different things that come up, like the event that the police are hosting with the online awareness, we're able to email that out to folks that have youth in the community. So it's been a good impact getting that information out. And then this one is just our last 60 days. So you can see that we've had 203 program registrations in the last 60 days. And you can kind of see what the demographics are in there and what it looks like online versus in-house. In-house takes a little bit longer. So that means they come in and see me and I help them do the registration. So there's 74 in the last 60 days. So that does take a little bit of our time to do that, but it's nice because we're able to match them with different activities that they might not know that are going on in the community.
Question, the profiles created, those are new members then?
So the profiles created, sorry, show me where that is on there. Oh, yes. So those are new members that have, and a lot of times that will be, say you have an activity that you're doing and then you have a child that now is doing another activity, then they have to create another profile for there. So it's a lot of times families, or it can be brand new to us too. Go ahead and go to the next one. So these are our ongoing goals and projects that we have. We just carry them over each year. I mean, we accomplish a lot, but we always set the bar a little bit higher each year to provide different programs. Building programs and partnerships is an ongoing one. We have a lot of really strong partnerships in the community that use this space at the community center. They also pay to use it. So that is a revenue stream that we do have, but it's nice because they're able to provide that program. So we don't have to provide it, but we also have the space that they can provide it in. And there is a discount for nonprofits to use that space. But we have every Tuesday night, we have parents that are in recovery that are using that space, and they're able to take classes there to be able to get their youth back in their home or take ordered type of classes. So that's been really impactful. We also work really closely with CCMH and Griffin's Place for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we're getting ready to start a younger youth group for kiddos that have intellectual or developmental disabilities to help them have a safe space to connect with other friends and resources and that sort of thing. So we're really excited to get those programs going as well. Because what I say is we offer a lot of things, but I'm not the expert in all of them. So it's really nice to bring in those organizations that are the expert in those things and provide those services. We're always looking at balancing our free programs with programs that have a fee. There's a barrier to people being able to afford things sometimes, but we also have to make sure that what we're doing is making smart business sense for what we're doing as well, that we're not, offering all free programs because we wouldn't be able to afford our staffing if we did that, or our building or things like that. And we're still looking at the possibility of before school care because that's a big gap in St. Helens as well, and looking at doing more facility rentals for not just nonprofits, but for people having birthday parties and things like that. There's just a little bit that goes into that. So we're looking at developing what that could look like. So if you want to go to the next one.
Really quick on that,
Yeah.
childcare, that is a major deficit to people actually even trying to get employment, right? I mean, that's one of the realities. So do you think that that's something in the near future that's going to be explored? Because it seems like that would be a great, income.
The before care. Yeah.
It's a serious issue.
Yeah, it is a serious issue. Some things that we're balancing with that is staffing, because who wants to work just 2 hours and then be done for the rest of the day? So trying to figure out who those folks are. We've identified some high schoolers that might be willing to do that. And then also the space, and also St. Helens elementary schools do start very early. I think they start at 7:30, Brandon? I'm saying that because I know you have element. Yeah. And so, that's, so seeing what that would look like and when we'd have access to the school buildings to do that. We like to do a lot of the things in the school buildings because the busing goes there already. They already have it set up for childs to be there. It's not like we're going to a separate facility. But yes, before school care has been our goal for a while, and we are working towards what that looks like. So how is recreation funded? Grants is our bottom base of everything, user fees, and then the city also. So we have 3 major funding sources that go into making up the recreation. And this is just the board and committee work that I do. I'm on the Greater St. Helens, Columbia County Health Coalition, and all of these things have very big impacts for increasing grant opportunities as well as partner opportunities. We have a really great opportunity with GROW that will be for ages 6th grade to 8th grade. It's a free week-long STEAM camp that there'll be college students from OSU that will be coming to teach that. And we got that because we are so connected with GROW, and Paul Vogel had wrapped around the opportunity. And so it will cost us nothing. It will cost the students nothing to do that. And that will be happening this summer. And then we've gotten other funding, like from Northwest Parenting. We get funding from them to provide early childhood stuff, as well as different trainings for our staff. And then our program partnerships. One thing that I really love about Columbia County and St. Helens is there's a lot of people who are doing great work. And a lot of them are very small agencies. So as we can throw that web out there to help capture everyone to see what we can each bring to the table has been the foundation of the rec program since I started it back in 2018. These are our current grants that we're operating with. I know you guys know this because I heard you talk on the last meeting about just how massive grants are to take on and what that looks like. And I do a lot of grant writing and reporting and such for the recreation program. The 21st Century Community Learning Center grant is massive. Not only do we get $230,000 for 5 years, each year we get that, it also takes massive reporting. It's through the Oregon Department of Education. And so there's a lot of reporting that goes in that. So I do spend a lot of time with that. And then I'm also training some of our staff that we have that are hired through the grant to use those skill sets as well. So they might be just out of college or going to college, or even high school students are now learning how to report for grants and stuff and seeing if that's something they want to do in the future.
So that obviously piqued your interest when we were talking about getting a grant writer to help administer all the administer.
Yeah, there is just a lot of work that goes with that. And sometimes you look at a grant and it might seem like a great way to get like $1,500 or whatever it is. And then you look at how much time it would take for somebody to do that. And it's like, that would cost way more than $1,500 in employee time and stuff. So it's, so trying to be strategic in that with us too, making sure that we're applying for grants that are going to benefit us and not hinder us and on the backside of it all. This grant also supports hiring high school students. So we do have I believe 4 high school students working for us right now and 2 high school volunteers. And then I'm also working with the high school on getting more volunteers in that. So not only is it teaching them their first job skills, but it also is teaching them if maybe being a teacher is something they want to do, working with children, and then also bringing them into those other skill sets of grant writing, reporting, what all that looks like too has been really nice.
Part of that group when I came in.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, we feel very lucky to have the folks that we do for that. And then we are working with Intel right now on a STEAM program. So we're providing 6 STEAM sessions for each of our programs. And Intel had sent us all of these kits that were already basically made for them. And then we just have them put on the activities such as like building a game or a car or a bridge and stuff. And then we got, I think it's like $20 per student that we're able to put back into our STEAM stuff that we do there. So up next, so we want to keep strengthening our partnerships to help provide safe and inclusive environments for all ages. Working with some new partners and businesses on programming. So I was telling Mark before the meeting started that we have a new partnership with Skyhawks, which is a business based out of Hillsborough, but they provide sporting services for youth. And so we're able to provide basketball and soccer and other things all the way from ages 2 up to high school age, and they're hiring local high schoolers to run these camps. And so what that does for us is they do all the things. I help get the buildings reserved, and also I sent some high schoolers to apply there that I knew would be good fits for it. And then we do the back end, like all the admin type work for it. So it's a really great partnership where we're able to bring all these programs, yet we don't have to do a bunch of hiring. They do the hiring, the insurance part, and all of that. Focusing on what we can do. I know and I've heard it from all of you folks that people are always saying that there's not stuff for youth and everything. So I always take that into consideration and look at what things are already being offered. If there's already a really successful youth football league, I'm not going to start a football league, but now I have that resource that I can make sure I send the youth to that league to sign up. I don't want to duplicate services that are going really well. However, if I know something is going well, but we could expand on that, I partner with them to see what that looks like so that we're not competing for the same youth or things like that, because we all have a lot going on. The last thing I want to do is run a league that there's already another league going on. We just finished our basketball league and we partner with Scott Poos for that, which is really fun because years past, I mean, I ran this league back when my almost 30-year-old was 4. And so it kind of came full circle back around. And I don't know back then that we would have had a really great partnership with Scott Poos because there was a little bit of friction there. And there still is, like in high school, right? Like the 7 Mile War and all that. But me and the Scott Poos folks over there have such a great partnership that the kids all play each other. And it's really awesome because they're able to create different connections, friendships. And also we're bringing over tons of folks from Scott Poos to St. Helens, tons of folks from St. Helens to Scott Poos. So the restaurants are doing really well on the weekends. Vernonia also has like 6 teams that they're sending over, and it's just creating a different dynamic experience. And not only that, but when they form tournament teams now, they sometimes borrow off each other. And so now they have this team that they can do. So it's been really great. We had just for St. Helens, about 300 kids that signed up. Scott Poos had almost that. And then Vernonia had like 70. So we unleashed like a whole, right? Like almost 700 kids on the community. So if that impacted you, I'm sorry if you, but yeah, it was pretty awesome. And we also employ our high schoolers to referee that, and then also to run clinics with the kids and stuff. And you might have heard, but this is the first time I've heard forever, but I don't know that the St. Helens High School boys and girls are both going to the playoffs for basketball. So that's really exciting. And a lot of these kids that are on those teams also helped with our youth. So they'll go and watch their games and things like that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And we've been able to help build that program up too, because the kids that are on the varsity now are kids that we had in youth basketball, and to keep that interest and those opportunities still available, I think is really important. And then finding the gaps in the community. How do we close the gaps? I was on a grant call this morning with the middle school vice principal, talking about some monies that could be for the middle school, high school ages, because I know there's a big gap there. What I found with that age group is just finding the sweet spot of what they want to do, because we've offered things in the past and they're like, no, that's not cool anymore. We don't want to come do that. So figuring out what is it that they want to do, and seeing if we can help facilitate that. And that's it. So any questions that you all have?
No, I think you do a phenomenal job. I mean, I think people look at maybe an ancillary type, program like this. It's not, infrastructure, it's not pipes, it's not, building the waterfront, but what you're cultivating in the youth here is desperately needed, and you're really valued.
Thank you.
So it plays a very pivotal and important role in this community, in my opinion.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I hope that we're raising future people that will work for you in the waterfront and stuff. So, the pipelines, the engineer pipeline.
Exactly. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you.
Utilize the old rec center at all?
We do a tiny bit just because the police offices are over there. So we try not to be too disruptive. And honestly, with the gym space that's over there, we're able to use the school facility gyms, and we can put a lot more kids in those gyms and stuff. But yeah, there is some of the little kid programs that we'll do in there. We use it for like pictures and things, but not a ton. Yeah.
Are you running into any challenges as far as anything that stands out that the council can help with, or anything of the sort?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So I think that we started back in 2018, and then we had our COVID times, and we still continued through that and focused on what we could. We're coming out of all that where people want, a lot of different things and stuff. So just trying to manage what that looks like based on what expectations they are. So I think just having communication, if you all think that there should be something different that we're doing, or if you ever want to come and visit the schools. I know Brandon has been to all the schools, and Mayor Massey came and talked to our staff one day, and I'm totally willing for that too, and kind of gives you a touch point too of why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, it's great to see what's happening out here and being like, oh, this is amazing, but when you see the kids doing the thing, then it's kind of that touch point. So just figuring out how we can keep growing the program and having the staffing that we need. Volunteerism is not what it used to be. A lot of it is because people have to work lots and lots of hours. So the last thing they want to do is come volunteer, what we found, or it's not dependable like it is for employees. So it's not like we can just get a bunch of volunteers to help, though we do still have volunteers. We can't. And plus, youth programs are very sensitive to who we are having work with the youth, and want to make sure that they're all vetted, that they need to be, and that we're providing a really safe space. So just the support to keep growing the programs. And yeah.
That was going to be my question. Is there volunteer opportunities in your programs? But if somebody is interested in volunteering, get in touch with you.
Yeah, just get in touch with me, and we have lots of different things that you can do. The after school programs, part of the grant is having partnerships and volunteers. So we do have quite a few different community members. In fact, we're working with the police. They're going to come do like a crosswalk safety type thing and stuff. And yeah, and the kids love when other people, and when you learn from other people, it's cool. And we all have different skill sets and strengths that we can teach them too.
Daughter just had her last basketball game on Saturday.
Oh, good.
Had a good season. So yeah, thanks for your work.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. It's always like, what are we doing? With like 300 kids and getting them all out there. And then it's like, okay, this is all under control. And it's
That's a lot bigger than I think when I was coaching.
Yeah.
That's pretty sizable.
Yeah, it's pretty big. We have the K through second. They just do like a Saturday on the weekends, and then the high schoolers come and like teach them different skills and drills and stuff, which is really fun.
Does Councilor Hubben, do you have any?
No, I think this is a great presentation, and you're covering all the bases, it looks like, and looking to the future for what kids' needs are. I like looking at the standpoint of what they want to do and then like that. No, it's all great. Every time you come up, it's like, wow, what a job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, I hope you all have a great
Great, John. So successful. It's hard to imagine that we didn't have that program. So just not that many years ago.
When I think about it, and I'm like, wow, Yeah, and I appreciate all the support that I've had. I know some of you came on later after we've already started and stuff, but just to go from a movie screen in the park is what I had the first like 3 or 4 months. And it was just like, well, let's just try this out. And then it just kept growing, and having the building over on Gable is so awesome. And then also, if you haven't came and saw the new fields that the high school's done, they're beautiful. And now the softball field is right by the building. And so people park at the building and walk over there. And so they'll drop in to see what we're up to and stuff, which is really cool. And then just looking out the window and seeing everyone in their spring sports is just such a great feeling.
I do really like the fact that you're not only just looking at that, but the needs of the community as well. I think that's vitally important.
Thank you.
That's great. All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, the next item is review draft staff monthly report template and draft staff report, item specific. Don't I believe you're up. You're on deck.
Kathy and I are gonna share this one, and it's not nearly as exciting as the recreation report, I suspect. You had asked us as staff to come and standardize our reporting processes for monthly reporting, and to do that here.
To clarify, this was the one that we discussed, instead of having like, you know, the big presentations on a monthly report, that staff would submit
Or
this so that,
streamlining effort.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
And they would come at whatever, I got them separated into the 2 different meetings, the first and the third. And then they would come to that meeting to be here to answer any questions. So they're not here, they wouldn't be here to present anything, just to answer questions.
And this has been discussed with the staff as well, so staff is supportive of this. Get it to people. Making sure, like, yeah, we don't want to make any undue hardship. We're trying to alleviate some of the work on the staff and all the different presentations that, you know, are provided, and this could streamline possibly a lot of things and keep us more up to date.
We really appreciate the approach and the change. Actually, this is great. That was a good suggestion.
Not that we didn't enjoy the presentation.
Yes.
You know, I've heard all kind of feedback. Too long, too short, too much
A good competition.
competition.
We're gonna have the best PowerPoint.
Yeah. We,
That's good.
High level, we're looking to get you the information you need, but still be efficient with our time too, to be productive. That's just a lot of time tracking things.
And then we also created a template for staff reports so that it's consistent. Everybody's submitting the same type of information for any type of request that they have. So they would introduce whatever the topic is, they give a background on it. Staff analysis can be a number of different things, you know, and then the budget impact, so that everybody knows what the impact would be. And then any alternatives to it, you know, which is like you either approve this or you don't approve it, or some other alternative. And then they'll do a requested action, you know, like a motion suggestion.
Everybody will feel comfortable even putting something in there that they want to draw to our attention, that like, I don't know, like an issue that's coming up, right? Something's like, if we see this might be a problem, we'll bring it to you to.
Sure, you can use that for that, yeah.
So, I had two additional ideas on, kind of the draft concept that I was kind of working through. And some of the other things I think it would be great just to touch base on is any grants and funding opportunities. Kathy, I think you probably have this that I sent over. And then the, any key issues and challenges. I don't know if I saw that up there.
I made copies. Do you want me to pass them around?
Yeah, I made copies. Yeah, that would be great here. And we kind of worked through it, and it was just kind of a concept of.
Extras, pass them back.
Okay. Hand them out. Oh, I brought one in here. I have one too. Hand them out if anybody else wants to see them. actually gave me. Anyone else? Gave mine away. Yeah. They don't have much. I think we're good. I just gave mine. There we go. We are good. We're good. So maybe if we counsel, if we can do kind of a contrast and comparison, and see if there's anything on this draft document versus these that we would like to see. Like I was thinking, grants and funding opportunities potentially, so we're knowing about that, especially key issues and challenges, because that's something that we generally hear about more than anything else, right, from constituents. So what we're looking at, any action items or requests for council, upcoming dates or important events. So these are just general ideas on the draft here. I didn't think about like fleet maintenance or the fleet program or information technology. So I don't know if we want to look at that and do a hybrid of obviously both of these things and get some buy-in from the staff.
Like the idea of getting buy-in because they're the ones that are gonna be filling this out, so I think it's important for them to tell us what they think is important for us to know. I like the layout, but I think also enough flexibility that they're able to tailor it to what they need and make it work for them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I guess in my mind, it's kind of a poor example, but I was thinking like SDSs, right? So it's like when you look at a SDS sheet, they're the same, the global harmonization, system created that. So when we're looking at each one of these reports, we kind of know what to expect. They have fluidity within each one of the topics, but then it should be the high points also, what we'd like to know from them, right? Because they give the presentations and we're trying to give a very comprehensive presentation, but is it necessary to give all that information if we're asking for it on a basis? We want to try to alleviate some of the cumbersome work from the staff that we can control. And also keep us updated.
John and I did talk about it and there's a lot of information that's being requested, and to do it on a monthly basis might be a little much, except that some of it could carry over from month to month.
Could we propose possibly an alternative, like, so every other month, it's like the first, meeting of the month, like a specific, staff member. So it's every other month and not every month then.
You should be reporting.
Yeah.
That would be better.
That, we'd still be apprised of the stuff that's going on. But the goal is to get the information, be as lean and efficient as possible in how we get it, and to alleviate some of the undue hardship and burdensome work on the staff.
I can take that back to the management team and staff and we can talk about that.
Counselor Hubbard?
Should we see an area where we have completed projects? So they fell within budget.
So add to the budget financials as a piece.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where you plug that in,
By the
but
budget.
ongoing projects, that's ongoing. So if there's another.
Something that we could do is, I'm working on updating that strategic work plan so that it's got percentages. So that would be something that we could include on a monthly basis.
Does that work, Counselor Hubbard?
I think it's, as long as it's highlighted and brought up every time, and not everything's a success, and we only learn from our failures. So let's see what we've got and what's happening, what's good. Brings it up.
That's gonna have budget, but it's also gonna have percent completes, right? Right. Thank you for doing that, Kathy, and updating that. Counselor Anderson?
I just want to make it as simple as possible and like bullet points, like what most important to me is if there's any issues, like for something that could be considered an issue in the coming up. That's it. The other stuff's nice.
I like it.
John, do you have any input?
No, we're just here to get you what you need. Not all of these. Each department is, is a little bit different. Some don't have many grants as others, so there's can be more and less. And public works, if you want to do projects, your project list is going to be pages long.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the questions. I'll send you the questions for all the things in there. But I think that also the most important thing is that we revitalize this and we send it, that we can get the staff buy-in and that they're comfortable with it. And I think that it's, again, gonna reduce some of the work and we can be as efficient as possible. We don't wanna then on staff that's gonna make it harder. So, maybe we can put this, look at it and put it on the agenda. Their next council meeting or the one after. So I don't think it's a time is of the essence one. I think it's just a nice transition. Any more discussion on that? All right, so this scheduled special session date, okay. So the reason I put this on the agenda is because one is that we started the roadmap and really want to get back to that and get it finished up, be able to have Council President Chilton be there, get some dates on that, get some action items going. So it's really hard to coordinate times since we can't have a quorum and we can't discuss things. So wanted to put on here, and also we have on here, we need to, it appears that we need to evaluate our governing rules. We started talking about it during our strategic planning. It has become glaringly apparent that we have some deficiencies in our governing policies, and we need to get those shored up, especially with any type of openings in employment and so forth. So we're hoping to get these things scheduled. Now, I don't know on the roadmap, we can schedule, we don't need our attorneys present, but it might be a little bit more challenging to get the governing rules coordinated. So the dates that I had proposed were, let's see, what date was it? The 3 p.m. on the 6th, 7th, 17th, or 18th. And it looks like the 18th would work the best for Council President Chilton. So as far as our roadmap goes right now, we'll wait for everybody to dig out their calendars if we can get that looked at.
What was that date?
The 18th
At what time?
at 3 p.m. And if I feel like I recall, there was like conflict there. Actually, maybe not with you, but maybe Peter or something.
I'm open.
Would be nice to be able to knock it out in one meeting if possible. It's less burdensome on the staff to try to send out notices and all of that. Even though they might really enjoy doing that.
It works for me.
You said, yeah, it should be fine on Tuesday 18th.
I'm checking, so Pete is not available
Right.
on the 18th. He's not available in person or video.
Yeah, I recall that.
So he said he was available, I thought, on the 19th by video. That would be a regular session. That would be on Wednesdays.
Right, we didn't want to do it on the same day as that's too much. Too many meetings that day.
You have any other dates proposed for it? That's it.
That's the one that worked for Council President Chilton, was the 18th. So we highlighted date.
And would you do the roadmap on that day and a governing policy on a separate day?
The idea would hopefully to do it in one day, so they only have to send out notices one time for that meeting.
What are your thoughts about shifting to the first week of April?
I don't think we want to wait that long for our governing policies. I mean, I suppose we could, but seems like that is one of the items that is, time is of the essence that we do. But I mean, it's up to the council as well, whether they,
I think so. The governing policy, it's talking about delegation of authority, or it's administrative decision making for the city council, and then also what decisions it delegates to the city administrator. And so it has, right now, it talks about hiring and firing and supervision and disciplining of employees. And so it's really helpful to have an employment attorney present. That's not my specialty. And so that's kind of what we're talking about for the scheduling is Pete's schedule. And I know he is out of town.
so maybe we just end up doing 2 different meetings, unfortunately. Like maybe we just have to do a focus meeting on the roadmap and then we do something on.
You know, one thought is if you're splitting the meetings, they might be shorter. So maybe there's time to, if I can check and see if Pete's available on the 19th, you could do it at your regular meeting on the 19th. Because you're not now talking about 2 topics, you're talking about one.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I think he said he was available via, we just wouldn't be able to be in person, I thought, on the 19th.
That's what I thought. And I'm just,
Would that work for everybody? Do it on the 18th and then keep them separate and then just on a regular session, deal with the governing rules because there's a lot to go with that. That we need to hammer out.
Started.
That's what I say. We don't kick the can down the road. Okay, well, we can move on from that. You can see if he's available and that would be our preference to do the roadmap on the 18th and then we can the work for the governing. Okay, policy. That works on?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Perfect. So we can move on from there and then if that's your own deck, all right.
Seems so early in the day.
Yes.
So, thank you, Mayor, Council. I guess my first announcement is that our longtime construction inspector, Tim Underwood, has announced his retirement on April 1st. There's going to be a reception here. I think it's in this room, isn't it? 2:00, I believe. But he has been with the city a long time, has a lot of knowledge on the ground in the field that's going to walk out the door. So we're hoping to get someone new on board to have some sort of overlaps. Get the right person on board, but to get whatever crossover they can. There's no way you're going to get 20+ years of information about every pipe in town, but at least some knowledge transfer there. The reservoir site selection study RFP is out. I'm accepting proposals until March 18th, and see what we get there. Let's try to find a suitable location for a new reservoir, and that will be the site selection, geotechnical, make sure the site's going to work. At our next meeting on March 19th, at 6 p.m. in between the 2 meetings, we're going to have an update on the Central Waterfront project. That's the lagoon, sharing the information we know about that. We're meeting actually tomorrow with our consultants to talk about the project and how it's shifted, and we're looking at alternatives. What the alternatives are, we'll have those to share with the public and about your questions, all of that. It's changed. We've been working on this for more than a decade. The presumption with the lagoon project is that we're, as long as it can be done safely, we're interested in filling the lagoon, and then we're finding out that the integrity of the berm isn't quite as safe as we thought it was, so that there's some alternatives to consider here. And I also wanted to invite any of the counselors that haven't been out to the wastewater lagoon facility to get out, get boots on the ground before that meeting to really get a touch and feel for what it's like, walk the tank, and we could do that before that meeting. That would be probably coordinate Mohammed or Aaron or somebody to make that happen. So we have a joint meeting scheduled on March 12th. I'm actually out of the office that day, and I believe Mayor Massey is planning to attend remotely. According to our council rules, I mean, I can try to join virtually, but I'm asking to be excused if that doesn't work out, so. The extension agreements you signed at your last meeting with Arcadia has been countersigned back. All those processes are in motion for all the same conversations. There's good energy about this project getting closed. It's all working. We're meeting with the state and DQ and coming together. So it's good. Yesterday, we had a standing meeting with Treadway to talk about events and activities. And yesterday we met and talked about the 13 night spans being scheduled. We do have a backup plan in case the park isn't ready by June 5th or the grass isn't in enough or whatever. We're intending to be back down on the riverfront for the June 5th.
Is the backup plan McCormick?
Yes, the park's reserved for that. So more than 13 nights, they're taking on community day, so we're trying to talk about that. They've got most of the 4th of July day of and fireworks and entertainment all figured out.
Are we doing a longer, are we stretching that out because of the weekend and all? Did we decide on that?
It's Thursday and a Friday. The 4th is on a Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go into the weekend or we just, that's fine. Yeah.
Good stuff, right? Fireworks on the 4th. Years ago, I proposed for having fireworks not on the 4th just because it was a weekend and that was, it did not go anywhere, so. They've been in contact with Sand Island, the carvers for Sand Island we don't have a commitment yet, but they're exploring, they're coming back to do that, so.
So if we end up doing that, we're gonna have a discussion of like trying to help out those carvers, the ones that where it got canceled or something of the sort. I assume.
We could, I mean, it's kind of managed to do that tourism budget. Income and expenses kind of balance out, yeah.
We should be prepared because it's gonna come up probably.
Probably, yeah. Making some progress on the police station site. We contacted the owners. We've trading legal documents back and forth, and I have the design team on standby, so we're not proceeding until we have a full commitment. But it is top of mind. The dock repairs, we have an RFP that's out, and the bids are due next week on the 11th. There's been some pretty good interest in the project. It's a real specialty niche for people that do marine construction, and we're looking at replacing the rails or fixing some broken welds, potentially leveling some of the docks that are out of level. All that money needs to be spent by June 30, so there's some timeliness about getting that done. Working with Sierra Tress at Columbia Economic Team on the business promotion campaign. They're going to be putting up the banners and signs to help draw business down here while this intersection is closed. And we're just wrapping up the project to really draw people in. And that goes along with the Riverwalk and the streets projects as they're getting closer by the day, and you can really see all the pipes under the ground. It's not going anywhere. And now that we're coming out, doing all the surfaces, it's looking, it's looking great. And tomorrow they were looking to pave the rest of First Street. They're out there prepping it today, so you'll see some blocked right now. And you have to drive around if you want to get back to the business back there. We made our infrastructure funding request to Senators Merkley and Wyden. We're asking for $15 million to help support the new reservoir construction. And that took a real rallying effort by a lot of people. Sharon Giroux, our engineering manager in particular, just, held laboring oar on that, but hopefully we're successful. It'll go a long ways to keeping our utility rates down and subsidizing that very, very expensive project, but, which will last for another century probably. So we're looking at. Mohammed and I have been talking about the grand reopening of the Riverwalk and the Streets Project and how we're gonna celebrate the success of all this years of a lot of hard work on the cities, a lot of frustration and fatigue on the business owners, and we really want to come in with a splash and do it right. So we're trying to find that. So
It's coming along very well.
I've been working with our timber, our forester and our insurance agent, Hagan Hamilton, to explore having timber insurance at the Salmonberry property. We don't have insurance, and to my knowledge, we never have. So they're exploring that. We've got a few leads, and it's not something CIS insures. So we have to go to secondary market. And, looking at the risk and reward of that. So you'll have something to review probably by the next meeting. The chamber banquet is Saturday, March 29th. I've got flyers here if anybody needs one. Got a booth.
So, you need to know who's gonna go so that I can let the chamber know and then Jessica know so that she can determine if she's going to be a city guest or an Avamere guest.
I will not be here. I will be out of town.
Then lastly, in your packet, there's this is the administration and community development report. You'll see the planning division. That there's a really great overview of all the grants, the projects, everything that's going on right now. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And so we're gonna take a recess and go into.
We're not gonna close the work
Yeah,
session.
do you know how long?
So that Ashley?
I would,
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, sorry.
I would say an hour at the you know, you could give it an hour, but before that, I just want to discuss the governing policy date. I did get some feedback. And unfortunately, Pete is not available on the 319 for video either. I think he was trying to, but it doesn't work. But a question is, what about 3/17, March 17th? Are people available March 17th? I know maybe Councilor Chilton, but that's another date to throw out. But he is available for video.
that one of the dates on there, right, Kathy? Was it 17th or 18th? She shows the. Okay.
She has an email there.
Okay. Okay,
So I would give it an hour,
Okay.
to then come back into open session.
okay. So at this time, we are going to recess for an hour to go into executive session. Let me find my paper, which is going to cover consider employment of an employee under ORS 1926602A, real property transactions under ORS 1926602E, and consult with counsel potential litigation under ORS 1926602H. Representatives of the news media, staff, or other persons that are approved shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave council chambers.
Fairly new.
All right, so we are now going to come out of recess for our council work session, our executive session. So a couple things is for the consideration of employment of employee under ORS 1966602A. We actually, as a council, decided against doing that in executive session. We wanted to do it in public meeting. So we did not discuss at all anything under the executive session, consider employment for employee under ORS 199 or 1926602A. And then also, I also wanted to declare a potential conflict for this topic because we are discussing a police chief vacancy, and my husband is a St. Helens police officer. And thank you for joining us, Peter.
Thank you, guys. Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. So the purpose kind of my appearance on this thing. So as many of you know, my primary specialty is employment law. And I've been asked to kind of hop on and provide some thoughts and recommendations as to how to proceed with moving forward with hiring a police chief and potentially looking at an interim employment contract or arrangement with the current interim police chief, Chief Hogue. One of the things that we wanted to discuss today was talk about potential options that you might have while you can kind of go through a process that would allow council to fully vet Chief Hogue, to kind of assess the overall suitability of Chief Hogue for the position. I understand that he's working in this position kind of on an interim or a temporary basis. And what our recommendation to council would be to continue with that kind of an interim basis, but formalize it somewhat with kind of an interim contract that outlines kind of the expectations during this period, put together kind of a 6-month period within which Chief Hogue can kind of assume the position. He can be evaluated during that 6-month period. And at the end of that period, council can revisit whether it wants to move forward with Chief Hogue in the position or to post a brand new opening and do a new search. From what I understand, Chief Hogue has been with the city for a long time and with the PD for a long time and may very well be a really qualified applicant. But I think it makes some sense for council to take the time to kind of do a full vetting process as you move forward onto this next phase, especially after, kind of the end of the employment of Chief Greenway, and allow you to formalize this a little bit more moving forward. An employment contract is likely your best option, I think, at this point, given that it helps you set out some of the expectations and the overall duties of the employment. You can still continue to have an at-will employment relationship, notwithstanding the kind of interim agreement. But this interim period gives you a chance to kind of evaluate Chief Hogue at the end of that period, do some potential kind of input with kind of a 360 review process that allows folks that are working with him to also kind of review him. It allows him to also assess whether he thinks this is a good fit for him. So we think that interim contract may be a really good idea to give you all kind of an equal chance to do that and work through that whole process. So that would kind of be our recommendation to start with. In some cases, we do not recommend contracts because we want to preserve the at-will nature of most employment in the state of Oregon. But in public sector, you can have modifications of at-will that do require kind of a due process component or kind of a heightened review process before you move to termination or something like that. And doing an interim contract would be consistent with that. So it's a good way to help you again to kind of set this up and to fully vet it. And at this point, where you are with the police department and how council is working on making sure that they're carefully working through these processes, we think this interim agreement is a good way to do that. So that would kind of be the recommendation from us as to work through it. Our other recommendation would be to have Aiken Blitz, who has a good deal of experience with the police department drafting that contract, but we can help him with some terms that we think are important as well. Aiken has a ton of employment in this, or a ton of experience in this arena, and would definitely be able to draft a solid contract given his experience and long experience with police departments in kind of similar situations. But that would kind of be our recommendation at this point. Again, I think it's the best way to make sure you all figure out if Chief Hogue is a good fit and if he figures out it's a good fit or not. And it's a really good way to do that, to give you all that opportunity and give him the opportunity to evaluate it as well.
Thank you, Peter. I also want to applaud Councilman Gunderson for, I want to applaud the fact that, you wanted to get this on the agenda. It's been the elephant in the room, and I know we are talking about governing policies, but I think it's good, and I think it's great. We're having an open dialogue and having this conversation. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
I did put this on the agenda because I did want it to get dropped. As far as I'm concerned, and I understand the whole contract thing, and I just, from time that Chief Hogue took over, I've seen exactly what I think we should have seen under the previous leadership. I don't know if that's enough for me. It feels like it's enough for me, but that this is a council decision. So I just wanted to throw that out there and move forward on this. It's not about being open and transparent. Like, I think Joe's a great fit for it, but however we want to work this, if Joe's agreeable to it with the contract, then great. I don't know what else to say about that.
I can jump in. So, despite what has been said, I don't dislike Acting Chief Hogue. I've had many conversations with him, and I'm also very hopeful that he's going to be a good fit. He's been here for a long time and he has serviced this community, and I am extremely hopeful that the opportunity works out. Where I have reservations moving forward, and I've expressed this to Acting Chief Hogue, is that we came off of the employment of Chief Greenway, and I feel like we identified some foundational flaws in our governing policies, like employee evaluations and other things like that, we need to improve on. And that's just one of several different things that have been identified. And I feel for me, it's irresponsible to simply move forward without taking an opportunity and correcting some of those items that have been there. I don't think we're in a time of the essence. Chief Hogue is here. He's been doing a great job, but it comes back to the governing policies. We've had that report that was out there, and it seems like it's been many years. It would be nice for the confidence of citizens and that we do that 360 to get a full evaluation of the culture of the entire department, and again, come back to the governing policies that we have not been following, and I think we need to improve on them. And that's my biggest sticking point, is I feel like there was foundational flaws, whether it be background screenings, evaluations. And so it seems like that a 6-month contract would allow for us to get those things completed, which I think that we owe the citizens, is to do our due diligence. And so for me, that's just what it comes down to, is the structure piece that I feel like are lacking. That was a lot of words. Counselor Hubbard?
Well, as far as saying that whether the 6 months that this contract, whether he would really want the job or not. He's already stepped up, so I take that off the table, that I believe he wants the job. It sounds like more legal issues. If we could get right to the point, correcting faults, and a lot of those faults were people on the council here at that point in time weren't asking the questions of the old chief, and plus he wasn't willing to share with them. So there was an impasse, and that's where we got where we are today. If we need to take 6 months to look at this, I think it needs to be done faster than that. I think a lot of it is, it's there, it just wasn't utilized as far as the contract. I don't know, and I haven't read it, but I think it needs to be looked at, like you said, for the public to realize that we're going to stick to this. If as far as this vetting goes, I think it should be retro from when he took the job, what he's accomplished and everything. That would be part of the 6 months. And, because it's already evident what he's been doing, I think, so. That's what we've got.
This, the governing rules is like really for the whole, all the departments, right? It's not just the chief. When we're talking about the chief position right now, we're talking about this disseminates to how we do business with all department heads,
Yeah.
right? And that's, it's not just here, it's a flaw that we have, we should be correcting with that piece. The other piece of it is how we do evaluations, right? That's the governing rules is council going to be evaluating the department heads in conjunction with those surveys, the surveys, you know, are the 360s, how that works. Is it in conjunction with, you know, John does an evaluation, we do it all. Those are all the pieces that need to be out with that governing body, and are the governing rules. And again, that's where I come back. The 6 months, if it's theirs in the contract, but it allows us, I don't think anybody on this council is interested in kicking any counts down the road. Like, we'd like to move on from our issues, which is why I wanted to get it on the agenda to set that date for the governing rules, because that's how we need to perform, right? So if we had 6 months to get all that vetted, then Chief Hogue would be, you know, we'd have the process in place as well.
Right. Well, I agree with that. And if that's what it's going to take to get that, I think, just a lot of it just wasn't followed. The rules are there, but if we need to tweak them or come up with different parts of it, we need to do that. But yeah, and we need time to do that. So.
Yeah, let me make a suggestion if I could, that might be kind of helpful. So, we have not historically been involved in this as a firm with respect to kind of the police department matters and how those things run. So I can't really comment on how those things happen in the past. I do think that council is making a smart decision to revisit kind of the governing policy and how your overall employment practices work. The biggest thing with any of this stuff and with most employment decisions is kind of having this underlying consistency with everything you do, and this consistent process and how you handle these kind of issues, how you handle hiring, firing, termination, evaluations, and all those things. You want to have this overall consistency with everything y'all are doing. That puts safeguards in place so that you have to go through those same steps and those same processes in any decision you're making. And it gives you the time to do that. And it also helps you to make sure you have that consistent process. So it doesn't look like you're rushing. It doesn't look like you're short circuiting anything. And you make sure you go through each of those things. And this is kind of the beginning of that in my mind. You go through this same process with people that you have that are applicants in the future. You go through the same process, especially if you're promoting from within. I think in this situation, you've had underlying issues with the police department that likely were not necessarily acting Chief Hogue's responsibility or problem, but you had issues. So what you do is you move forward, kind of have a clean slate, and then evaluate Chief Hogue on his presence in this role moving forward. And you apply these same processes to kind of anything you have going forward with new department head hires or things like that. And this all dovetails into what you may be trying to do with the governing policy and how that works. That's why I think in this instance, it makes a lot of sense to kind of start this process with this potential hire and this evaluation. So it gives you that uniform process, gives you a clear contract you're working under, gives you the opportunity to go through that evaluation process that we've been talking to. And in some respects, it kind of helps acting Chief Hogue have some degree of security that he's not going to be questioned about being the guy that was shoved into this role quickly after the other police chief left. If council makes the decision that he's the guy to go forward with after that 6-month contract, he gets to say, hey, I performed, I worked through this. I wasn't just kind of shoved into this role and inserted. I went through that whole process and I passed the test with flying colors, and it was an objective process, and that works moving forward.
So I have a question, Peter. On the last application, I believe a bachelor's degree was required or some type of degree. But if that was the case, I think that's something that council should consider, because I'm not sure if Chief Hogue has one, but I mean, the experience should, commiserate that in lieu of, right? So I think that's something that we should be discussing as well, because me personally, I wouldn't see, based on his experience, right? And being a known entity, he's demonstrated by skills, knowledge, experience, training, whatever, that would be a requirement. But it was a requirement, if I recall correctly the last time. So I think we would need some guidance there as well. We're not going to be consistent.
Yeah, you'll see this even more frequently. I'm kind of seeing this more often where you'll see stuff where if there's a degree required, you can also have a situation where you can say, or equivalent experience or experience that would suggest you have enough. So something like this, somebody who's been on the job as a police officer for an extended period of time potentially outweighs having a bachelor's degree in something. So I think you guys want to leave the ability to have the opportunity to consider other things rather than just that one, kind of criteria that's in the job description.
What are you going to say, Kathy?
We were in executive session. I saw somebody pop in.
Okay. Counselor Sundin?
No, I think that's appropriate. I think it's like you say, it's one thing to have a bachelor's degree. It's another to have decades of experience like Joe does.
Exactly.
For me, that's not a concern. And I think just the questions that came up earlier, why haven't you announced position? Why aren't you moving on this? We have been. So for the last 2 weeks, several weeks, attorneys have been letting us know that, again, some fatal flaws were revealed, and these are some things you need to get taken care of. You need to get these things fixed. And so it's not something we wanted to rush into. It's not a situation we want to find ourselves in again. So if it comes down to Joe and his qualifications, I think he's done phenomenal, and I would support him fully. And my initial thought was that 6 months is maybe a little long because, again, we've seen what he's doing and seen the change in the department. So, but I don't know. I kind of like to think we could get it done quicker than 6 months, but if that's what it takes, I don't know. Seems like we're determined to get these governing policies taken care of. And he's been doing this since October, and we've seen what he can do. So
I just don't think we have the process in place. We don't have a process in place to what we're doing with evaluations, how the evaluations we're actually going through training, right? So people know how to properly do evaluations.
I agree. I think a lot of things need fixed, but do we need 6 months to do it is my.
Will we be ready? That's the question. Will we be ready to do it? Will we be ready to deploy 360s? What is a 360s? Does it go here? We don't have an HR manager. Does it go to our lawyer? How do we do this process when we just have bullet points right now on our governing rules? How do we actually bring this to life based on the recommendations that have been said and do it in that time? And the other thing is that I think that we also need enough security for acting Chief Hogue. I feel like, 6 months might be a long time, but at least we can do it, and he has that security as well. So I think the general consensus here is we would all like to see him end up in that position, right? Just the process piece is, again, the problem for me. It's hard to listen to recommendations from our lawyers based on lessons learned and fatal flaws or foundational flaws and then not take care of them.
To me, it's two separate issues. There's a position open and there's the flaws and all the policies that we need to have in place. I don't think they're necessarily intertwined. They are, but they're not mutually exclusive. We don't have to have these policies. At the same time, I don't see how that goes together. But I get it. It makes sense to me. But I just don't think we should tie that to the chief's employment as the chief, as full-time chief, not acting chief. And then at the same time, say we're doing this, I guess they can run concurrently as we're doing it. I guess is that what we're trying to say?
You're trying to put him in contract, so he has.
But I think it needs to be separated, that we're not doing this because of him. We're doing this because we have to.
Correct.
Right. So
Right.
I guess that would make that clear.
Yeah, that was really well put, actually. That's
Yeah. It comes back to what I said earlier. You're right. It's not unique to acting Chief Hogue. This is about consistency with how you all are going to handle this, beginning with this hire moving forward. So that's what this is about. It's not anything that has to do with him necessarily. But again, I think that council needs to be mindful of the fact that this is an internal promotion from a department that you potentially had issues with. So make sure you take the time to carefully do it. I understand the concern about, he's already been in this acting role for a little while, but it would be a little odd to do a contract that would be as short as a 3-month interim contract period. That's a quick one. I think that council needs to give it enough time to potentially have that 6-month period of time to evaluate what's happening and make sure that this is clear that you all didn't necessarily, I don't think it's happening, but you didn't necessarily rush to judgment when someone from the outside is looking at what's happened with this hire and this potential promotion into the position.
I want to say this is that prior, probably 6 months to a year prior to when this was all happening, when I had suspicions about the chief. I think I let you know that, Joe. He was not showing up for the meetings with community partners and all those things, and the person that was Chief Hogue. So this isn't just because he took over as the former chief left. This is because he's been doing it like for much longer than I think most people know. And he just wasn't given the credit for it because there was the former chief who was conspicuously absent and Joe was going in his place. Sorry, Chief Hogue was going in his place. I think that's notable. So, I mean, I don't think he had to do it. That just says a lot to me.
I think that due diligence for like what we just came off of, and I think we all read the report, right, is understanding that the culture is intact in the police department and that we're just doing due diligence, right? That 360, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, will be it could be department or would be department deep. So we would have a full synopsis of like the entire dynamic.
You can structure the 360 kind of any way you want to capture as many people as you want. I think in general, the one challenge with that is you want to make sure it's effective and that you get adequate responses. So you want to look at a universe of the folks that are most likely to work closely with Chief Hogue. And that's going to give you an idea of kind of how it works across the board. 360s there are mixed feelings about them, but in a situation like this, I think they make an awful lot of sense. When you're having folks in higher level supervisory positions. So you really get a feel for what's going on throughout the whole organization. And by the organization, I mean the department here, but I mean any organization. So if you got a department head in a different workspace like Public Works or something like that, you get to figure out what it's like working with all the other Public Works folks. And that's where the 360 is really useful for you.
These are things that the minutia of this is what we would hammer out why we work on that governing policy when we define that.
And I think those are in tandem. So that one shouldn't delay the other, if that makes sense. Aside from my terrible calendar. So one shouldn't delay the other.
So then would be sort of a silly question, but so tonight would be then like kicking up the discussion for a 6-month contract, then would that be what the motion would be then?
Yeah, I think your motion is something that is along the lines of whether someone wants to make a motion to appoint Chief Hogue kind of as the interim police chief for the next 6-month period pending the negotiation and drafting of a mutually agreeable contract.
Have any additional? Ashley, do you have anything? John, do you have anything?
So do we have that motion or is that motion?
I'll do it now.
No, you can't do it now, but I'm
Tonight,
just,
give it up tonight.
we get that written down to.
Oh, yeah, that's why I asked him to do it.
Captured it, yeah.
After it, is that a motion that you want to make tonight? You'd like to put that on the agenda tonight?
I would like to.
It feels like we should. I think we need to be moving forward in the most expeditious way possible. And I think that this is a step in the right direction. And I also think that it's the most appropriate thing to do. I think that leading acting Chief Hogue in this is not appropriate, honestly. And I think it's inappropriate not to have a contract or some agreement if he's fulfilling the role.
And I think your smoothest way to do it is to do that and then appoint the department liaison to work with us to go ahead and put together that contract for the chief. And council's obviously gonna have to approve the final agreement, but that allows you to go ahead and work with putting together those terms.
With Aiken.
You know, they can, yeah,
Aiken's working on a draft that it's a little bit different in concept. It was appointing Chief Hoag to the position and having a check-in at 6 months, where the council would have a check-in and then he'd have an off-ramp to go back to being lieutenant if things weren't working right. Otherwise, he would move forward and he'd be the chief.
So I have a question. I'm sorry. I have a question that do we need, before we do the contract, do we need to do any type of public notice for any public notice of not, I don't know how to, like, not opening the position, because that's not our intention. It's not to put a public notice out for an open position. Help me articulate this. Or can we just move to a contract?
I think it's so two things. I defer to Aiken a little bit on that because Aiken's drafting the contract, but to me, it seems to be, and Ashley, stop me if I'm getting this wrong. This seems to be kind of an interim agreement with John, what you're talking about as to how Aiken's talking about doing it. I think that makes sense. Where it's kind of a check-in at the end of that period of time to then put together maybe a formal contract and extend the offer. I think that's probably the way to do it, but I defer to Aiken on that one.
That idea much better.
And then that contract would have a provision for the governing rules.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
the governing rules. With that.
Because it wouldn't be
Yeah,
right
say
now
develop, right,
specifically
yeah.
defined in the contract that we would issue now. They would be modified with the government. Okay.
Yep.
Agree with that.
Anything else?
So I have as a motion to appoint Joe Hoag as the interim chief of police, subject to the terms and conditions of a mutually agreeable employment agreement. Pete, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say mutually. Don, do you know what Aiken has characterized the agreement as? Has he called it an employment agreement, or has he told you?
That's an employment agreement. It's not as acting, it's as chief, but he got an off-ramp to come back. Lieutenant.
That's what I see as more appropriate.
Yeah, the only thing that I get concerned with on that is then if the agreement is for a chief and it's not an interim appointment, is do you have to post it?
Frozen?
No, you can't.
Oh.
As an internal recruitment, you mean?
Yeah. And I don't know off the top of my head.
We wouldn't have to have an external public posting for a vacancy. We would have to notify internally that there was an opening.
Because what I'm hung up on, because it's an interim appointment is really what we're talking about, then you may not have to do the external posting. But I think if it was anything other than that, you may have to do an external posting. That's what I'm stuck on.
Internal or external?
If it's more than an interim, is that the question?
Oh, so you're saying if it's interim, then we wouldn't have to go to external, but if we say that it's basically an employment agreement and it's not interim, then we would potentially have to post it? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what my concern is. But again, that's one I would defer to Aiken on as to how he wants to handle that.
I think that we
can
don't think we want to post it.
We can get some advice on that before our evening meeting.
That would be helpful because
If not,
Do that.
have him
I
here.
don't think we want to go down that road. I think we would like to move forward where we're at. So that would be very helpful to know because that just
that's the issue for us, you guys, since we're not drafting this thing and that Aiken's drafting it, I kind of defer to him as to how he thinks this process should work. The bigger issue for us is just making sure you have a process in place. But since Aiken's drafting it, I think I gotta defer to him as to how he wants to do that.
You can find that out in the interim on how we need to say that or we'll do it, whatever. We would prefer, I think the council would probably prefer, we could all weigh in, but I don't think we want to go and post a vacancy to the public.
I mean, we do internal recruitments all the time as far as, especially at the police with sergeants and things. Well, we'll double check.
Anything else that we miss? You got the motion?
Yeah, I have the motion and we can get some more legal advice and refine it as needed.
Peter, any last words of wisdom?
Not this time.
Counselor Hubbard?
No wisdom here.
No wisdom, me either. Counselor Sundin? I don't have anything else, John, you?
No, we'll get,
All right,
share some more information.
okay, this meeting is adjourned at 5:46 PM.
Thank y'all.
I'm gonna run. Let my dogs out.